Alright, what up YouTube? It's the Night Saint here back with another video. And this video is gonna be called Choose Wisely. This is gonna be just a regular I don't know what type of video this could be, but it's like just me speaking out my mind really. Choose wisely. Like I said, I'm only 20. Like I said, I get that I'm very young of a person. Like I said, I think in terms of just spirituality and just being like not awakened. Let me not say that. You know, people. I don't like using these terms because they just very overused and corny in a way. But it's like aware. Let me say more spiritually aware than a lot of people my age. I think that, especially as a young boy, well, a young boy turning into a young man, it's like an idea that you got to become. You're not identifying with your humanness as much anymore. You more identifying with your godliness and your universe, and your oneness. That you got to understand that that you have power. You really have power in the world, but it's really dependent on how your perception of what you have control over. For the longest time of my life, I was very stepped on. Like I said, I was very much inferior. I thought I was inferior, so I got treated inferior. People always, didn't put themselves over me, emotionally, spiritually, financially, economically, physically. I'm about to say any way you can find it. And like I said, now I allowed it. So in many ways, I always tended to feel like I was out of control. Like I said, life was out of my control. I didn't really have control over my own life. I think that whatever was gonna happen. And I mean, that mindset as a whole is not, well, as a whole it's terrible, but in a certain aspect, I mean, that's truly what happens. Like I said, life is gonna take you wherever it's gonna take you, whether you like it or not. But I don't think that's something that, let's say, like I should have, kept having like that type of mindset, because it was very much keeping me in the same spot. And I wasn't growing emotionally, or mentally, or just even just fucking physically. Like I was just very much a mediocre person. I was always in the middle. And it wasn't like the middle where, you're trying to improve, just the middle of where it was contentness, but it wasn't like the right content, being like the rightful contentness. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm just keep saying it. But the area of content where, it's like righteous, let's say that. So I was always very much like content, but it's like, I know I can do better, but I'm just doing this because I'm just trying to get by. Like, it's very lazy and very mediocre. And like I said, that's like went on, like probably like a couple years after that. Like I said, my life started to really, like I said, when you really start to really want to change your life, I think that you have to understand that you got control over yourself and you can control other people or situations. So many times I had to gain that type of understanding of life where I'm like, okay, well, if I can control myself and control my mind and control how I feel. Not you can't control how you feel, but you can control your emotions or keep them like, keep them like in a cage in a way, where like they not just roaring out just. So I think that's how people are. Like people, even when I be at work, you just see how people just be living through their emotions, and it's like it's very childish in a way. And there's nothing wrong with that, just being able to live through your emotions, but you have to learn it's a time and place for everything, But I think people don't understand that at all. But just say, when you have total control over your own being, in the sense of like this human body, you don't cause the same mistakes that you caused in your past. You don't cause recurring negative patterns a lot. Like, you don't cause a lot of the traumas that you face when you grow up again. Like, that's one thing that I choose to really focus on, is really trying to control myself. And like I said, I think recently I had a whole breakthrough. Like, it's that even at certain times I can't even control my own self, and it's like, it was just like control how you feel. Like some days I'll just randomly get sad. I mean, it's not like it's me. It's just like, it could just be karma, could be anything really. Like I said, at times it could just be an old memory. It could just be like just old feelings resurfacing. Like I said, when you I think at the end of the day we animals, and I think people try to, even though we have like a spirit side to us that's really the observer and see everything, we still animalistic. So I think a lot of my problems was me trying to preserve this animal and try to control it in a way. It's like a lion tamer, you know, always taming lions, and then one day the lion gonna get upset and just really, you know, kill the lion tamer. Like that's one thing I had to get like a better understanding of my emotions in that sense, where I have to be like, okay, well, me suppressing my emotions, just keeping them in this cage is not gonna do me any good. So I have to find a way to express them in healthy ways that, you know, allow for it to be satisfied and not to feel any resentment towards my own self. So that's one way I found, well, I started to take so I can become more conscientious and have some more control over my energy and just my emotions in a way. So yeah, choosing wisely. I think that's just level one. I think that when you have control over your animal, and you start to, you know, operate at higher faculties, and just start to think about more about, you know, your full, like, you know, what you want with your life. Just like the 3D level, just like, okay, I want this, and I want this, and I want that, and, you know, I don't want this, and I don't want that, but I do want this. I think that you start to really, you know, control how your life is, and you start to control your destiny. I think a lot of people have this misconception that, like, I don't like how, like, the major thing in, like, reality is, we gods, like, black people gods, and we the gods, and this type of stuff, and it's like, people be saying that, and like I said, just me being me, I'm very much, like I said, I just see through a lot of bullshit naturally, even through my own bullshit. It be times when I'm deluded, and I be having to, like my mind splits like another person. I be, like, having to check myself, because, like, me personally, of course it don't happen all the time, but for a good majority of the times, I just have to. I don't like people. I can just see through bullshit very easily and quickly. I don't like people talk. I tend to just keep my mouth shut most of the time, just because at times I can fall into this category of people that just, you know, in the delusion area. But I just don't want to be speaking deluded ideas, just because that's just, you know, it allows for me to, you know, absolve myself of any responsibility, or just, you know, it make me feel good right now. So yeah, people be speaking like how they God, and, you know, they control their reality, but people be in the worst situations, and they still dreaming, and, you know, hoping for, you know, new things to come along, new greater things to come along to replace their, you know, their traumas and all their trials and tribulations. But people be living in a terrible cycle, living a terrible life, and then they want to call themselves gods and goddesses and all this goofy shit that I honestly hate. Like, I really hate it. I really have, like, a true disdain towards it. And, you know, part of me identify with that, like I said, but it's like, you know, it's just comes to a certain point where it's just like, you can't go for it, you know. But yeah, and with that godliness comes, like, a type of a bird eye view of, like, your life, and just how things turn, or how things ended up unraveling. And it's crazy how when you get this type of point of view, like, you can really see yourself. You can see yourself in the animal, but also just, you know, you can observe the mental of the person that you are. Like me, I tend to try to, you know, like I said, I don't tend to give people my energy, just because at times, sometimes it just don't be worth it, you know. But other times it's worth it. And like I said, and I think this is another point I'm about to reach to, is that sometimes that animal is needed, just because. And I think that's one thing about being able to deal with conflict, and just deal with your emotions, and being one with your emotions. Like let's say if somebody was really disrespecting me, and it's like, people are like, some people would test you. Some people, they just doing it because they're miserable. Some people are really, like, trying to test you in a way, and it's like, sometimes you can't just turn your back and just walk away. And I think that's where your animalistic side is needed, and just your emotions are needed, and they just need to be focused. And, you know, just more under wraps, and they need to be accepted. It's like the idea of, like, accepting, like, your shadow and stuff like that. But that is, like I said, that to go back into just being able to choose wisely about, you know, when to give in. You know, it's just knowing when to really give your attention to something, or when to not give your attention to something. You know, and many times, like I said, for the first 18, 19 years of my life, I understood. I didn't have a good understanding that I was very much just giving my attention away for free. Even now, I'm still working on trying to cut my attention from a lot of things that I just don't need to have my attention and energy towards anymore. It's just not doing anything for me. It's doing absolutely nothing for me, and it's just draining and killing me, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, the idea of just choosing wisely, when you get to this perspective of, like, not above, but, you know, just higher thinking, you start to be able to see your decisions, like, in real time, and how they're gonna affect your future in real time. or even just taking to the past that don't exist. I mean, they don't exist, but it's to a past that's far and distant. You see the cycles that life ultimately take everybody through. Life is always about cycles. That's one thing that Nas told me. He said life is life is about cycles. Like I said, it's 4 cycles every year. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Like I said, and that's just how life goes. Nas and J. Cole. But yeah, so you just have to be able to choose wisely, depending on what circumstances you may be inside of. I think people need to understand. Like I said, I think this is how I also got a better understanding of people. You understand people only choose the best, and also people either choose the best option for their circumstance, or just the best, or the option that the animal choose for them. And I mean, in both instances, both understandable. So I think that's one way. That's one reason why I don't get so upset and angry with people nowadays, because a lot of people don't operate from a higher perspective. They only can operate from what they see now and day to day, and it's very understandable. But it's very negative way of thinking about life, especially. Well, I know my people in my community does it a lot, but that's just it's very negative to be thinking like that constantly. Let's say that, because it may be opportunities where you may have to just be able to think for right now and right now only. Because I mean, realistically, only right now exists, but people make right now decisions for things that span over the next 18 years, and it's kind of fucked up when people can make a split set decision on something that can happen, for the next 18, 20, 25, 30 years of your life. And it shows the lack of caring people have in people. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if I'm naming this too wisely, but like I said, it's just a rant about being able to overcome your emotions and think from higher faculties. So yeah, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you.